It looks like the pronoun brigade is starting to catch on that companies don't want to hire HR ticking time bombs. Resumes including they, them pronouns are more likely to be overlooked, new report finds. I would go a step further. I would say resumes that have pronouns in them at all more likely to be overlooked. That's one of the red flags. Like if I'm looking through a resume and I see pronouns and or a heavy emphasis on activist activity, that resume is immediately going into file 13. You do not ignore these red flags, okay? An HR ticking time bomb that's more interested in using your company as a platform for their activism than doing the job you're paying them to do. What could possibly go wrong here? I don't know. Inclusivity shouldn't just be present in the workplace, it should be practiced during the hiring process as well. But unfortunately, non binary job seekers are facing a clear biases during their job search. Maybe for a reason. According to a new report from business.com, a business resource platform, over 80% of non-binary people. Oh my God. This is one of those like self-surveys. They believe that identifying as non-binary would hurt their job search. Similarly, 51% believe their gender identity has affected their workplace experience or very or somewhat negatively. All right, so that's your data, huh? Just a bunch of surveys asking for people's feelings. So Ryan McGonigal, director of industry research at business.com and author of the report, says these statistics show just how much work there is to do around die and belonging in the workplace. Yeah, I actually agree with this. There is a lot of work to do. We wouldn't be having these problems if you just gate kept. So clearly, we have to do more work on several fronts, like gatekeeping. Over the past 10 years, DIBE efforts have prioritized have been prioritized by many companies. However, the researchers' results of this study and the past research shows that teams in most industries aren't proportionally representative of the U.S. population. Well, why don't you show how serious you are by starting with the NBA? Make the NBA representative of the U.S. population. So McGonigal tells CNBC, make it, and worse, many people like the non-binary individuals who spoke to in our research feel like they don't belong. Maybe they don't. I know it's a shocking concept to some of you Twitter freaks, but not everyone belongs everywhere. Maybe you actually don't. The company should have clearly outlined initiatives and timelines for improving diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Yeah, those are the companies that want to go out of business. Yeah. If you want to go out of business, that's a good way to do it. On top of that, they should measure their employees' sense of belonging. Investing in these efforts can only be positive for companies and team members alike. Well, as we're seeing with all these woke companies just going tits up constantly. So, phantom resume test exposes bias. Oh, so maybe they did some actual science. Okay. Biz.com's also went a step further by sending 2 identical phantom resumes to 180 unique job postings that were explicitly open to entry-level candidates in an effort to test whether or not the inclusion of gender-neutral pronouns impacts how employers perceive resumes. Both featured a gender-ambiguous name, Taylor Williams, and the only difference between the test and controlled resumes was the presence of gender pronouns on the test version. Good. That means employers are actually not as dumb as I would have thought. So Gongo said the report the test and the resume included they, them pronouns under the name, and header, she, her, he, him pronouns are not tested. You should have tested those too. The phantom resume, including the pronouns, received 8% less interest than the one without and fewer interview and phone screening invitations. It needs to be higher than that, okay? Like if it's just 8%, that's why so many companies are failing. According to a report, over 64% of the companies that received these resumes were equal opportunity employers, something that made the results even more worrisome. The law makes it clear that you cannot base any employment decision, hiring, terminating, or otherwise based on gender identity. McGonigal says it is incredibly disappointing and unethical that many of the hiring managers in our study would disqualify candidates for being authentic. Oddly enough, the reason that this group is having so much trouble is because of their inauthenticity, but that's a different problem for another rant. Check yourself and hold your team accountable. If I catch you hiring any they thems. So Zelna McGee, Senior Director of Learning and Development at Centerfield Media, a Business.com's holding company, said that inclusive hiring practices and workplaces have to be intentional about minimizing bias. Yeah. So this is, again, part of the Marxist plan. Like we saw with race, right? So it's not enough to just not be racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. If you're not constantly campaigning against racism and calling people Nazis all the time, then you're basically no different than a Nazi to them. When you're determining your hiring process, think about how bias could be introduced and how to mitigate it. For example, your interview panel should be diverse in order to hold each other accountable and bring awareness to blind spots. The same can be said of filtering resumes at any part of the hiring process. So if someone is new to hiring, have them partner with someone more experienced that could bring these biases to light. That's right. If you suspect someone might accidentally hire a they them, give them a mentor. Now, we all have biases, even if we don't want to or don't believe that we do. Put strategies in place to check yourself and hold your team accountable. For non-binary individuals starting to feel accepted as their authentic selves in the workplace, McGee urges them to speak out about their experiences. If you have a DIBE leader in your organization, reach out to them. Well, if you have a diversity and inclusion leader in your organization, you should be looking for another job, because that is a bloated company that probably doesn't have much time left. So it's their job to prevent and to have a deep understanding of bias in the workplace. Now, if you work for a smaller company without that function, speak with someone you can trust. Oh, shit, man. It's going to be nobody soon enough. Right. What have you experienced? What has been said that made you feel othered? Make your voice heard. You deserve that, and you do not deserve to feel unaccepted. Notice that they never return these same feelings to us, though. Like, we just have to always accept them, no questions asked. But yet they're more than welcome to other us. That's fine. And then they wonder why we just had enough and don't play this shit anymore. So company leaders should also be proactive in preventing these situations through employee indoctrination and conversation. You should be gatekeeping them. Help your team members understand what it means to be truly inclusive and consider different perspectives. Yeah. So guys, do what this article said. Consider a different perspective for once, and actually gatekeep bad actors out. Keep out HR ticking time bombs. Keep out people who are more interested in activism than doing the job. You need to do that.